He kind of called me like out of the blue. Like, hi, it's Michael. I'm just like, hey. This is after Home Alone. I actually had before I was doing Nutcracker at like Fritz backstage, and I actually met him very briefly. Nice mix after I'd done Uncle Buck. So
Alone, phrase that suddenly hit on June 25th, 2009. The world froze. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, found lifeless inside his Los Angeles mansion. Propofol ran through his veins like poison in the official story for dose. But whispers of something fast, assassination, cover-up, betrayal. People couldn't believe it was an accident. Weeks later, it tuned in to watch his massive public memorial, the Staples Center of tears, glitter, and disbelief. Stars cried, millions watched, and hearts shattered in real time. Yet one name was missing from the spotlight. Macaulay Culkin, kid from Home Alone, the boy who used to share beds with MJ, laugh around Neverland in court, expect to speak. But he never did. Instead, quietly slipped into the burial with Mila, then vanished from the spotlight completely. Why avoid the farewell to his closest friend? Grief too deep to face? Fear of the press? Or something far to those nights? Rumors whispered of blood on sheets, screams in the dark that could ruin everything. But Culkin stood firm. He always swore. Nothing happened. He stood by Michael the very end. The rumors refused to die. Whispers of curses and silent threats echo through Hollywood's halls. Tonight, with cracks open wide, the real reasons why Michael away. What we uncover mixes cold facts with eerie secrets that still creep into sleepless minds. Some details will crush your heart. Others will send chills down your spine. Picture this, 1990. A 10-year-old boy ruling the box office, Home Alone, walks through the iron gates for the first time. The air smells like cotton candy, grass, the kind of are made of. Roller coasters rumble and the zebras wander near the petting zoo. At the end of the long, winding driveway waits Michael Jackson himself, and smile shining like stage lights. Come on in, Mac, he says softly. This is your place now, too. That single moment sparks are so quick and so fierce, it leaves the world guessing forever. Soon, Macaulay spending weekends, then weeks, and before entire summers at Neverland. They race until the sky is orange with sunset. They stay up all night in the private theater, in old cartoons and two could share. It felt magical to be innocent in the eyes of outsiders, and that's whispers began, shoulder to shoulder. Video games.
I'm very happy to have him in my life. I think one of the great things about our relationship is me and him kids all the time, and we do.
Macaulay is Michael's two kids.
How are they doing?
Oh, they're doing great. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. And I think in life is
giant beanbags, brothers lost in another world. Showered with gifts. Diamond-encrusted watches, slick leather jackets custom made just for him, even private jet trips to Disneyland. Every move, luxury, but it wasn't about money. It was about feeling wanted, feeling like family. Those Neverland nights were the every kid dreams of. They dreams, fears, two stars in totally different skies who somehow understood each other. Sometimes they'd crash in the same room, sometimes even the same massive, and Mac was innocent. He described it as warm, safe, and nothing more, the kind of comfort he never found in his own home life. But peace never lasts forever, because 1993, the storm that changed everything. That year, a boy named Jordan Chandler filed a civil lawsuit of things. As the details leaked out, sleepovers, long hugs that blurred lines, the world gasped. The headlines exploded, stopped flashing. A multi-million-dollar settlement came fast, but it's permanent. And suddenly all eyes turned to Macaulay, the boy who spent even more time at Neverland. If Jordan's story was true about him, Macaulay never flinched, not once. Fast forward to 2005. Michael's on trial in Santa Maria, facing the biggest fight of his life. The courtroom, cameras flashing, tension so thick you could feel it through the air. And then, stepping into the witness box, comes Macaulay Culkin, now 24 and ready to face the storm head on. The entire room goes dead silent as he opens his mouth. Every reporter, every juror, every fan hanging on his words. Nothing happened, he says, calm and clear. Michael appropriately. He was my friend, my best friend. Anything had ever happened, the truth, but his voice never shakes. His eyes never drift. He stands tall, and the world is as Michael acquitted on all counts. Peace doesn't last long in the kingdom of fame. Years pass, the shadows keep crawling back. 2019, the storm reignites documentary Leaving Neverland. Two men, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, step forward, telling stories that started when they were just kids. They talk about gifts, isolation, sleep therapy, and night turned dark. Their words mirror Jordan Chandler's almost for detail. Same ranch, same promises, same closed doors. And once again, people turn to Macaulay for answers. But he stands firm, repeating what he's always said. Those were not his experiences. He insists there's no dark story to tell, no hidden to reveal. Still, the eerie overlap makes people wonder about the sleep of the expensive gifts, that deep you and me against the bond, and the way we're always kept.
You had with Michael Jackson?
Had or have? I mean, it's kind of,
both.
you know, whatever.
Let's go with had.
Listen, no, he's a good friend of mine, and he's still, I mean, what's going on? I mean, it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation for everyone involved. And
Just a little too far away. Why does it all sound so familiar? Every time someone brings it up, Macaulay gives the same firm answer. Because nothing ever crossed the line with me, period. There's corners of that refuse to let this story die. Anonymous forums and encrypted buzz with rumors that for every year claim Macaulay didn't just visit Neverland. They say he saw things no child ever should. According to these whispers, there were late-night medicine sessions. The boys were supposedly given pills or to keep them calm. The next mornings, their eyes looked dazed, glassy, like they'd somewhere far away. There were rumors of change before dawn and muffled sobs and through guest wings while the rest of the ranch slept in silence. None of this was ever proven. No documents, no offense solid. The stories from spreading like wildfire. The telling gets darker, uglier, more haunting than the last. And here the most chilling theory kicks in. Some say that's the real reason Macaulay Jackson's massive memorial at the Staples Center. It wasn't just grief, cameras, it was dread. The rumor goes that Neverland carried an unspoken pact, a silent rule that no one dared to speak at the silence, and you disappear. That's what whispered the boys, who slowly vanished from headlines over the decades. The theory insists that even showing his face under those bright global lights, that one slip, one doubt in his eye could unleash something dark enough to show him whole, erased, gone, like he vanished into thin air. So instead of stepping into the storm path, the flashing cameras, helicopters circling overhead, and chose burial at Flawn Cemetery and send the noise away from. He sat beside Mila Kunis, head bowed, surrounded only by the few people he still trusted, while the rest of the critical on their screens. He stayed hidden, silent, motionless, out of sight. But why? Was it really some lingering Neverland curse, or was it something even heavier? The unbearable weight of memories that once felt like paradise, now twisted with questions he could answer. Nobody knows for sure, and maybe we never will. What's certain, though, is that Culkin has carried that chapter locked inside for over 3 decades, never breaking, never confessing, just enduring. Then came July 7, 2009. The world stood still. The Staples Center in downtown Los Angeles into a cathedral of glowing with sorrow and spectacle. Outside, crowds for blocks, holding up handmade signs screaming, "We love you, Michael!" Fans sobbed, strangers hugged, and the world felt like it stopped breathing for real. And somewhere far from that sea of flashing lights, invisible, his silence louder than any tribute, his absence one could ignore. Tears put down faces as Hector circled like the sound slicing through the head inside the
What happened at the house? All these things.
It's so weird. Nothing happened, you know? I mean, nothing, really. I mean, we played it as... Well, the thing is with that is that, it's like, I don't think you understand. Michael Jackson is too stoned.
Staples Center, over 11,000 seats filled with fame. Kobe Bryant, hidden by Paris Hilton, tissue through her eulogy. There was perfume with the scent of white roses and the quiet broadcast beaming a corner of the world. At the center of it all stood a golden casket, glowing beneath a single white spotlight that made it look almost sacred. It was surrounded walls of flowers, pure white, endless, and for a moment, the entire arena built for a legend. Stevie Wonder through his Mariah Carey cracked mid-note and family in matching black suits and veils, hollowed by exhaustion and grief. The entire ceremony unfolded like one of Michael's own music videos. Dramatic, larger than life, every camera angle here captured in flawless high definition. The world watched, hungry for closure, desperate for final. The broadcast zoomed in on the front rows. People everywhere were asking the same question: where was Macaulay Culkin, who once laughed in Neverland, once called the son Michael never had, and every corner searching for his face in that ocean of tears. But he was nowhere. The absence screamed louder than any song that played that night. Social media went wild that day, tweets flying, exploding, asking the same question. Macaulay, he has to be there, right? But as the cameras pinned across the endless rows of seats, there was no sign of him. No flash of platinum blonde hair, no sharp cheekbones, no quiet figure in a hoodie disappear into the crowd. He simply wasn't there. And the truth, at least was painfully ordinary. By 2009, Macaulay Culkin, 30, fighting his way out of the wreckage left by star years. The fame that once made him Hollywood's golden boy had chewed him up and spat him out. His 20s were of addiction, cocaine, pills, leaving him lonely and shattered. He'd retreated to New York, working on tiny indie films, trying to rebuild his name, trying to prove he was more than that kid from Home Alone. The last thing he needed was to walk straight into the brightest spotlight on earth, Michael Jackson's memorial, where it stuck onto his face. Guilt, he knew that one wrong look, one flicker of emotion, a media firestorm he'd never escape. Of hesitation, and the headlines was the world. Culkin breaks down. Culkin knows more than he's saying. He didn't need that chaos, not again. So maybe it wasn't silence. It was Circle's funeral, and the world noticed. Some said it was guilt, others called it silence. The truth might run way deep. He knew the media machine better than anyone. It had chewed a kid.
Against, it wasn't like they were pushing me upon it. It was just kind of like I wanted to with them, and they were fine with it.
So what do you make of what he's going through now?
But, like I said, and it's just, I don't know, it's a little crazy, and I kind of back
out. The spotlight dimmed. He wasn't about to let it for him again. Still, rumors just wouldn't die. They crawl through the shadows of the internet with every retelling. In those secret forums, the chat claimed the real reason Macaulay wasn't about or precaution. It was terror, pure, bone fear. The whispers say that, in the days leading up to the memorial, someone or something to him came, anonymous and chilling, supposedly to the same shadowy forces that some claim were behind Michael Jackson's death. That's where the theories turn wild. Online, a tangled web of wealth and silence. A system so big that even the king of a pawn. They say Michael wasn't just a superstar. He was a man who knew too much, who'd peeked behind Hollywood's velvet curtain and people couldn't even imagine. He allegedly knew secrets about the music and about the strings and the whispered rituals and blood-sealed deals that kept them and when he got too bold, when he threatened to speak out, too powerful to control. Those same forces made sure his voice would never echo again. Macaulay, some got that warning too. Didn't just get scared. He got warned. And it wasn't some random email or creepy phone call. It was something personal, something that hit him right gut. One night, in the dead silence of his New York apartment, a white envelope slid under his door. No name, no return address, no stamp, just there, waiting. When he opened it, his heart stopped. Inside was a single sheet of paper, and on it, words scrawled in dark red ink that didn't look like ink at all. The message read, "If you show up, you'll die like him." The handwriting was wild, shaky, uneven, like it came from someone trembling with rage, fear. It doesn't stop there. Some versions got the ink at all. It was blood, human blood, dried, cracked, flaking across the page. They say Macaulay just stared at it for hours, frozen, draining from his face. His pulse pounding in his ears, he finally grabbed the note, tossed it, and set it on fire. He watched as the paper curled and turned to ash, just swirled down the drain like a bad memory he could never quite forget. That night, he sat and totaled every light off, curtains drawn tight, doors double locked, even a wedged up. His phone was silenced, his breathing shallow. He listened to the sounds of the city, sirens wailing, horns echoing, footsteps in the hallway. And every time one came close, he wondered, would it stop at his door? And as the hours crawled by, one end in his mind, the Staples Center, the flashing lights, the golden casket, and the thought that maybe, just maybe, showing up might have cost him everything. Under those blinding lights, he imagined himself sitting there, speaking, saying anything, and suddenly felt that spine. He knew deep down that someone would be watching, not just fans, but the same unseen could make us vanish with. So he stayed home, alone, invisible, while the world gathered in tears and music to mourn Michael Jackson on live television and sat in silence, locked away from it all. He didn't speak, he didn't move. He just waited for the hours to pass, for the sun to rise, for a morning where no one would be asking for his words or his truth. Paranoia, trauma, or did he really believe the threat was real? Nobody knows. That envelope existed, never turned up. No photos, no proof, no confession. Just a rumor that drifted through the web like smoke. Impossible to grab, impossible to kill. And yet, every time someone dares to ask why the biggest farewell of the decade, the same answer echoes back from the shadows. Because he was warned that if he went, he wouldn't leave alive. Then came midnight, June 24th, 2009, the thick summer haze. But miles away in New York, Culkin, 28 years old, restless and pale, was wide awake. His apartment sat dimly lit, the air heavy with dread. Suddenly, from the nightstand, an unknown number, one he hadn't seen in years. The sound sliced through the stillness. His hand hovered over the screen, heart racing. Was it a friend reaching or something far darker calling from the shadow that had already King up? He picked up the phone without hesitation, and what he heard on the other end was Michael Jackson's voice, low, breathless, and barely recognizable. "They're coming for me," Michael whispered. His tone was shaky. "They've been watching. I know things about Hollywood, the real ones. You're the only one left who knows. You're the line go like static through a nightmare. Michael's breathing grew faster. Then came his final words. Don't tell anyone, just stay safe. And then, silence. Dead silence. Culkin sat there, frozen, staring at the dark phone screen, heart hammering like a drum. He tried calling back and again, but no one answered. The air felt heavy, thick with dread. And then, the next morning, June 25th, 2009, the world was chaos. The news hit like thunder. Michael Jackson had been found unsafe at his Holmby Hills mansion at 12:21 p.m. Paramedics rushed in frantically to revive him, but it was too late. 2:26 p.m., the king of pop was dead. The cause, cardiac arrest from acute propofol intoxication, surgical anesthetic that administered Dr. Ed Murray. 2 years later, in 2011, involuntary manslaughter, the court ruling it a negligence, not murder, not conspiracy, just a full mistake on perfection and pressure. But from an explanation, never a voice that haunted him. The warning, his tone, the feeling that he just listened to a man predicting his own death. That call never left him. It pulsed in his memory like poison. He never spoke about that call, not once. He never confirmed it, never denied it, just silence, like a ghost that never stopped whispering. But deep in the internet, those old forums and empty threads, something far darker. According to, it wasn't just the person Michael Jackson spoke to, he was the Michael truly trusted. But that night wasn't fear talking, confession. The tale goes that the darkest under Hollywood, a secret network of people who using fame and money to silence their victims. They say he uncovered some of the world's biggest stars, the young and famous. They claim knew everything, names, dates, places, and he had to talk about exposing it all. But according to the legend, he wasn't silenced with a bullet, with a needle. All that killed him wasn't an accident. It was a hit, disguised as medicine, hidden under the mask of tragedy. Macaulay's name, the one who knew Michael, who'd spent nights under the same roof, laughter and trust, suddenly became the final loose end. Then came the whispers of new warnings, calls, cars idling outside his apartment, that constant of being watched from the shadows. The time, July 7th, 2009, rolled around. The day of Michael's memorial, and wasn't just grieving, he was terrified. Every sound, every shadow felt like a message. You're next. The fear had sunk deep, so deep it felt like it had its own heartbeat. Just a stage. It was a fortress of scrutiny. Fouled the streets while helicopters thundered above, their shadows sweeping over faces that glistened with tears. Cameras panned through them, every sign, trembling celebrity. Inside, the golden casket gleamed under harsh lights, something untouchable. The Jackson family sat motionless, faces covered with sorrow and exhaustion, while stars wept perfectly on cue. Every second was choreographed, every emotion broadcast in high definition. And somewhere in all that chaos, the world wondered, Macaulay, he had shown up. If he had stepped into that building, every single lip locked onto every reporter's mic would have been shoved in his face for a word, a reaction. One slip, one flicker of fear, and the conspiracy machine exploded. He knows, they would have said. He's the witness. And according to the darkest whispers, moment, that one appearance would have sealed his, not a public hit, not a spectacle, but something, a heart attack that no one questioned, an overdose blamed on past struggles, or maybe a quiet disappearance written off as too heavy to bear. The rumors go even further. Macaulay saw shadows that very day, figures in dark coats, standing near his New York, faces hidden behind sunglasses, waiting, watching. One alleged witness in an anonymous online post, SUV across the street on July 6th, engine running, windows glint sunset. Whoever sat inside was just waiting for him to into the light. Left his apartment not once. The online post described it, lights off, curtains drawn tight, the room swallowed in silence. Macaulay Culkin knew, he felt that someone was out watching, waiting, so he stayed hidden while the rest of the world mourned in real time. His only company, the hum of the city outside his locked door, there in the phone silenced, listening for foots in the hall, for a knock that never came. Later that month, he slipped quietly into Forest Lawn Cemetery for Michael's burial. No cameras, no interviews, no chaos. Just a silent gut once was. In public memorial, he refused it completely, and he didn't care, or because he was running from shame. No, he believed that showing his face would have made him the next name on the list. Trashed the headlines. If this twist had everything you thought you knew, don't blink now. That button and turn on notifications, because what comes next dives even deeper. You won't believe how it gets, because the fear didn't end with phone calls, strange letters, or blacked out SUVs. It went deeper, much deeper, straight back to that once felt like paradise. The Neverland Ranch itself that promised, but to those who whisper in the dark, may have hidden far more haunting the surface. If you really want to understand why Macaulay Culkin might sweat at night, you've got to go back. to the place where it all began, to those 2,700 acres of rolling green in county where magic and mystery live side by side, a place the world once knew as Neverland Ranch. Picture its glory days, the Ferris wheel spinning slow against a burning sunset, the soft drifting through the hills. Llamas wandered, they'd stepped straight of a fairy tale. There was a movie theater with endless popcorn, a zoo where key giraffes that never closed. Michael Jackson had a dreamland, a kingdom for lost childhoods, for kids who need to be kids, himself included. Called it a place of joy, innocence, healing. Families visited in droves, snapping photos, collecting autographs, and leaving with smiles that seemed too wide to be real. But behind those iron in the quiet corners of the private quarters, whispers told a different story. Guest wings, the locked bedrooms, the areas only a few ever saw. Rumor said that's where the magic ended and the secrets began. The first crack appeared in 1993 when a boy named Jordan Chandler filed a civil lawsuit accusing Michael Jackson of sexual misconduct. The world gasped. Fans refused to believe, and Neverland Fairy started to. Suddenly, that dreamlike paradise still so innocent and haunted, like the laughter there had turned into no one wanted to hear. Came the leaks, sleepovers, shared baths, hugs that lingered too long, that blurred lines no one wanted to. The scandal broke wide open, and a massive multi-million-dollar settlement could end the noise. But money couldn't erase the scar it left behind. The damage was done. Eyes, Macaulay Culkin, even more time at Neverland. If Jordan's story was true, everyone wondered, what about him? Then came 3. Police raided Neverland like it was a crime scene straight out of a movie. They searched every inch, hidden rooms, safes of material that raised more questions than answers. Those discoveries led to a full-blown case. Child molestation charges that dragged Michael through a nightmare of trials, headlines, and heartbreak. By 2, he was on all counts, legally innocent. But publicly, that stain never. From that point on, Neverland became more than a ranch, a symbol, a name whispered with unease, a place the world's magical on the surface, and over the years, the darker into something straight out of a thriller. According to whispers in the deepest conspiracy circles, Neverland wasn't just was a lair. They claimed there were secret chambers beneath the house, through trap doors under Persian rugs, or through mirrored panels in Michael's private suite. Rooms lit only by candlelight, with walls covered in mirrors reflecting every angle, and floors to hold no clue could ever fully erase. Whether myth or truth, those tales keep crawling back, darker every time, painting Neverland as a place where the line between fan and fear completely vanished. The rumors went somewhere far darker. Some of the most whispers claim Michael Jackson wasn't just breaking boundaries at Neverland, he was performing rituals. Theories spread online, painting him as something almost supernatural, a man chasing youth and beauty, a vampire in disguise, feeding not on blood itself, but others pushed the idea even further, say it wasn't vanity at all. It was a pact, a deal made with something dark goes that in exchange for fame, youth, and immortality, purity had to be. Each got more than the last. According to these online legends, boys were allegedly brought to the ranch at night and given meant to keep them calm. Then they were led downstairs into the lower levels of Neverland, where the walls were thick and swallow any sound. The whispers described strange noises, the muffled cries of fear that no amount of could ever erase. Talk about sheets changed before sunrise, moving in silence, eyes down, never daring to ask questions, and went still again, only some could be heard drifting faintly through the air vents. And then there's Macaulay in the legend. He didn't just visit, he saw. One night in the 90s, staying up too late watching movies, he wandered the halls of Neverland alone. Curious, he pushed open a door he wasn't supposed to touch and froze. The bed sheets looking too fresh, too real. His chest. Then, from somewhere behind him, he heard it, a sound that made his blood run cold. He froze where he stood, child's whimper, soft but unmistakable, but from somewhere beneath the floorboards. Panic ripped through him. His heart slammed against his ribs as he stumbled back, terrified to breathe. But again, not once, but that sound, that tiny broken cry, stayed buried in his mind like a scar that. And when Michael Jackson died, the whispers to something people began to say Neverland wasn't just tainted, it was cursed. The land it was soaked in too much pain, too many stolen childhoods, buried beneath its golden gates. They cycles never moved on, that it lingered restless and hungry, bound to the had made him both a ghost, the darker. The curse, they said, only touched those who'd been closest to him, who'd shared his space, his laughter, his secrets. For them, Neverland's pull never truly ended. If they dared his name or stepped too close to his memory in public, pull would awaken. It would shiver up the spine, a strange tug at the hands wrapping tight. Before you could scream, darkness would rise, dragging you back to the ranch, back to the locked rooms, back to the halls where the crying never stopped. That's why, according to the tale, Macaulay Culkin refused to in Michael's memorial. The farewell was too bright, too loud, too public. Stood under those lights, surrounded by thousands chanting Michael's name. The curse would have found him. They say Michael's possessive reached the miles itself into the void of Neverland. One last time, Macaulay had to stand on that stage. Even for a moment, he wouldn't have finished his sentence. He'd vanish, gone, just like that, or worse. Speaking, walk off camera, and never be seen again. Another name on the list of people who knew too much. So, completely. Instead, was the private, quiet, small, untelevised. No crowds, no reporters, no chance for the spirits or the watchers to take notice. He sat in the very back at Salon set, head down, and among the few people he far away from any stage, any spotlight that could and while the rest of the world watched the golden casket beneath the lights, while choirs sang Heal the World and fans wept by the thousands, Culkin was already home. His doors were locked, his windows sealed. He prayed that whatever Homeland would not find him in that silence. But is any of it real? That's the question that still burns. Scoured Neverland during the 2003, searching every inch of those fabled rooms. No trap doors, nothing supernatural. Empty halls filled with memory and fame. Yet detail refuses to the quiet, desperate crying that echoes in every and the most Macaulay has never denied hearing it. If this deep dive into shadow has you questioning everything you thought you knew, don't even blink. Hit that subscribe and turn on notifications because the next layer, it's even darker. Trust me, we're nowhere near done peeling back the truth yet. The Curse of Neverland wasn't just about haunted rooms or cries. It was personal, skin and soul. A mark, some say, forever bound Macaulay Culkin to Michael Jackson's world. That's why the stepping into that public memorial felt like walking into a trap, designed to shatter him completely. Curses in lies something more real, the foundation of grooming allegations that have followed Michael's legacy decades. Through it all, Macaulay stood firm, repeating the same words with calm precision. Nothing had ever happened. He said it under oath in 2005, in interviews, on podcasts, and even as recently as 2020. His voice never wavered. His story never changed. Yet other ones spent time at Neverland told a much darker story. Chandler, back in 1993, described a pattern. Isolation, expensive gifts, shared and touched that blurred boundaries. Years later, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, the Firestorm 2019 documentary, Leaving Neverland, detailed the same chilling sequence, treatment, promises, late-night sleep therapy, and eventual abuse. The world too. Defenders claimed the stories were lies, fame, and money. Accusers swore they were truth, long-buried wounds finally being exposed. And caught in the middle, Macaulay Culkin still insisting none of it was his story. He's never claimed to be a victim, never pointed a finger, never altered his version of events. But even with his certainties won't fade, because the details, those small details, keep the gifts, the attention, the "you're special" talk that turned dark for so many others. The pattern stayed the same for everyone else. How could the one boy who stood to Michael walk away completely untouched? That question, cold, quiet, and still hangs in there like smoke from a fire no one can put out. That's where the wildest, most rumors claw their way out of forums and whisper that might be beyond fame, beyond grooming, straight out of a nightmare. These shadowy stories claim he didn't just or manipulate his chosen ones. The tale goes that he would draw a small black butterfly on the skin of certain boys, using a special ink to be mixed with his own blood of those already. In these rumors, it wasn't random. It symbolized transformation, eternal youth, and the birth of innocence into everlasting, bound. But it wasn't a gift, a curse, mark of possession. They say once branded, that child was forever tied to Michael's orbit, unable to escape his even after death. And here's where it turns even more disturbing. According to the legends, any of those marked ever betrayed him. If they spoke or mourned him too, the mark would awaken. It wouldn't burn on the skin, not at first. It would start deep inside them, a whisper that grew louder every night. Then came the voices, the paranoia, the hallucinations, until eventually the marked one would completely. Screaming fits, breakdowns, destruction. Even more chilling, some of the men who later of wrongdoing, those same names, did suffer from mental health struggles, severe anxiety, and dark thoughts they couldn't explain. To the faithful, proof that was real. To everyone else, it's another haunting in a world that still can't separate myth from madness. The whispers claim it was no coincidence at all. They say it was the butterfly's wings, And according to the darkest corners of these tales, Macaulay Culkin still carries that mark, hidden somewhere on his body, maybe on the inner wrist, the collarbone. No photo or camera has ever clearly revealed. The story goes that he received it during one of those late-night rituals when the world outside slept and Michael's world came alive. They say Michael Jackson took a fine needle to crimson ink. He traced his fragile wings while whispering promises of protection, fame, and loyalty. Macaulay has never shown it, never admitted it exists, but claims he still feels it sometimes. A faint pulse, a small burning throb under the skin whenever Michael's name is mentioned, or when old Neverland footage TV's creepiest part. On July 7th, 2009, as the world watched the Staples Center Memorial and the golden casket gleamed beneath the stage lights, something, the tale, awoke, supposedly to burn on skin, searing through his veins like fire. They say Macaulay pulled over in pain inside his apartment, his body shaking and blurred, and his ears rang with ghostly voices, the faint, overlapping cries of children in the dark. According to the legend, the voices begged him, "Don't go! Don't speak! Don't let it finish its work!" Whether real or imagined, the story insists that in that moment, the mark came alive, pulling him once again into the shadow of Neverland. He's never truly escaped. The story takes an even darker turn here. Another layer that makes the of Neverland feel almost too eerie to believe. Anonymous posters, claiming to have been inside the Staples Center that day, swear they saw something that should have been impossible. During Stevie Wonder's emotional performance, while thousands wept and cameras flashed, a few wits spotted a child, pale, translucent, motionless, in the shadows near the arena. Not one of the living children who came to mourn, but a boy who had vanished from public record after 1993. One whose name had once been quietly linked to Neverland. To their accounts, they appeared just for a few seconds, his eyes hollow, his lips moving silently, as though whispered to someone he could see. And what misses completely? He was staring directly at the reserved for Macaulay Culkin. No one else seemed to. The cameras didn't catch it, but those who swear they saw it describe the air suddenly shifting, the lights flickering for a single heartbeat, the temperature dropping, and the faint paper walked through the section. Then, just as quickly, the boy was gone, into the crowd as if he'd never existed at all. In the retweet spread through the internet like wildfire. That good child wasn't just an illusion, it was a harbinger, a warning, or maybe a collector. The legend claims that any marksman who dared to appear in public that would have the curse in full force collapsed right there on stage, screaming about blood, about rooms under the floorboards, or worse, they just had breath. Another soul came by the restless pull of Neverland's curse. It on old demons, but everything, even from miles away. That sudden flare of pain, that faint of a lost boy's voice, like a calling through static. And in that moment, he knew. If he showed his face into that spotlight, it would seal his, so he's invisible. The tributes unfold without him. The songs play, the tears fall on live TV while the world together. And there he was, alone in his apartment, ice against the hidden on his body, whispering to himself, "Stay quiet, stay dormant." He didn't do the curse. Later that month, he slipped quietly into the forest lawn, the one ceremony without cameras or flashing lights, no reporters, no microphones. A few people gathered in silence. The grand goodbye. He refused completely, of coldness or indifference, but out of pure survival. And yet, for all the eerie detail, none of it has ever been proven. There's no butterfly mark, no confirmed sighting of that ghostly child, no evidence of or rituals or haunted rooms. And still, the story refuses to die. It lingers like twisting and curling through time, away. Because every once in a while, when Culkin pops up, smiling in an interview, a podcast, or casually online, you can't help but wonder, is he truly free? Is there still something waiting under his skin, silent, patient, ready to wake? If this idea of a hidden mark and a ghostly warning has you feeling uneasy, get even stranger. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what comes next might change everything you thought you knew. We descend even deeper to rumor number 2, to see that maybe, just maybe, Michael Jackson never truly died at all. And here's where the wildest turn yet. Because of the whispers, Macaulay Culkin knows exactly where Michael Jackson is hiding. It was July 7th, 2009. The world got the center. Hearts, faces wet with tears. Mariah Carey had just finished singing "I'll Be There." Tears glistening beneath them. In the front row, the Jackson family sat motionless, stone-faced, grief into every glance. At the center of it all, under a single glowing spotlight, the gold casket draped in white roses. Something not quite human, almost otherworldly. Outside, rain mixed with tears as fans chanted, "Michael, Michael," their voices shaking, signs raised high, through with grief. Inside, cameras across the audience, every trembling lip, every bowed head of disbelief. The entire planet was watching, united in sorrow. But amid all the noise, one absence roared louder than any song. He wasn't there. He never intended to be. Officially, Michael Jackson died on June 25, 2009, confirmed by autopsy, backed by certificate, and laid to Forest Lawn Cemetery in a private ceremony on September 3rd, where Macaulay died quietly, away from every lens. The death? Case closed. Or was it? Because within hours of the announcement, the internet lit up with theories claiming the king of pop had faked his death. Fans poured over every photo, every video frame, pointing to a masked figure supposedly out of the hospital. Others saw the body in the like him. Then came the claims that Michael orchestrated his own escape, a perfect vanishing act to break free from crushing debt, lawsuits, and relentless scrutiny. Theories, some said he fled to Bahrain, secluded America, or even a succumb, living in the shadows while the world mourned. The legend insists he's still out there, watching, waiting, planning his return when the world least. And in the most telling of it all, Macaulay Culkin knows everything. He's always known. Because late that night, after the memorial ended and the Staples replayed endlessly on TV screens across the world, his phone rang, an unknown number. And when he picked up, everything changed. He answered, his throat, the line called softly, and then came a voice he never mistake. Michael, low, urgent, alive. Don't come, Mac, I'm still here, the voice whispered. They think I'm gone, but I'm not. Stay away from the cameras. See you grieving, they'll know you know, and they'll come from then. Silence. Just like that, Macaulay Culkin frozen, phone trembling in his hand, heart pounding so hard it felt like his chest. Was it real, a hallucination born from shock, or had actually reached out from somewhere deep in hiding to warn him? That, the rumors say, is why Macaulay did the public memorial, because to appear on camera, crying, speaking, or even back his head would have meant Michael's death. And if Michael was truly alive, that betrayal, worse, painted a target on Macaulay's back. The one person who could expose the truth, the witness who might know the secret, claimed that Michael was alone. He had handlers, powerful allies, maybe even dangerous ones who made the escape possible. And if Macaulay cracked, if he said the wrong word or showed too much grief, he'd silence him at all. But the story is Michael himself would have come, not to hurt him, but to retrieve him, to bring him into the hidden world where the king still reigns, forever young, forever untouchable. The idea wasn't to just keep the secret. He was meant to be swallowed by the legend, the child star fading into. So he stayed hidden. He let the tears fall on TV while the rest of the world mourned. He showed up only once, at the burial behind closed doors where no broad could capture his face, and no one could analyze the silence that said everything. Every year, when Michael Jackson's death anniversary rolls around, the internet again. Videos, eerie sightings, and late night hits flooding social media. And through it all, Macaulay Culkin stays completely out of sight, not from apathy, but to the whispers from fear. Fear that one wrong move, one public, either the living Michael enemy straight to his door. Of course, maybe it's not fear at all. Maybe it's just grief, trauma, and the deep exhaustion of someone who grew up inside too strange to. But when that phone call rumor resurfaces online, when people replay the words, we'll hear recreations, it's hard not to ask the question that keeps haunting every corner. Michael really is out there. And worse, if Macaulay, the only one left who can prove it. And now, we reach the theory of all, one that twists grief into nightmare, the one that Culkin ever truly escaped Michael Jackson's orbit. Number one, Macaulay, the final victim, and the public memorial as a to claim him forever. In reality, though, Macaulay has never wavered. Even in interviews as recent as 2020, he's spoken clearly and confidently. He never did anything to me. Michael was my friend, and that's the truth. He's defended decades of trials, documentaries, and rumors. He's rebuilt his image of fame, opened up addiction and loneliness, and never, not once, came to be a victim. It would have been the end of the story. But the most extreme corners that refuse to let it rest. They clark a vision, a hidden message the morning. They say the Staples Center Memorial on July 7th and wasn't really a farewell at all. It was a staged event, a final act of control, not meant to honor Michael, but to the one he couldn't let go of. In these chilling retellings, Neverland didn't die with Michael. It was just waiting for Macaulay Culkin to bow. They say it wasn't just a memorial, it was a ritual, a summoning. To the darkest corners of the legend, Michael Jackson's spirit, restless and possessive, needed a vessel to return to the living. And not just anyone could, it had to be someone bound to him by ties. Someone who had shared his world, slept under his roof, the wind of Neverland echo in the night. Someone who knew the truth, and that someone, his claim, was Macaulay Culkin. He was the key, the final living link, the one who stood closest, who had seen the magic, the madness, and maybe the monsters. The rumor that if Macaulay had stood on that Staples Center stage, beneath those bright lights, before millions mourning the king of pop, the ritual would have activated. It would start small, spine, spur curling in his ear. The next moment, the voice would go over completely. Michael's essence through the broadcast, through the crowd, through every glowing screen, straight into Macaulay's body. He'd feel the shift, his body moving on its own, his voice soften into that famous high whisper. He'd start to dance, the crowd roaring in awe, thinking it was tribute, never realizing that what they were watching wasn't imitation, it was possession. The real Macaulay would vanish inside forever, and stay in his place would be a reborn Michael Jackson, smiling for the cameras with eyes that no longer belonged to him. The rumor reaches its most chilling moment later that night. Macaulay Culkin looked into a mirror in his heart pounding and saw Michael's reflection staring back, pale, smiling, dripping from his eyes like tears. His mouth didn't move at first, but began to form words. Soft, clear, unmistakable. Come play with me. Forever. Macaulay smashed the mirror, glass shattering like a... He never spoke of it again. And from that night on, he never attended another public trip because deep down, he believed it was the spotlight itself. One step too close to it, ritual would be complete. The boy from Home Alone would be gone forever and would live again. And there you have it, the 7 reasons that to haunt pop culture's corner of facts and horrifying whispers that refuse to... Were they real? Or just the minds of making sense of a friendship too strange, too tangled, too comprehend? Macaulay Culkin is still here, still denying, still insisting on innocence, still living quietly away from the spotlight that once nearly consumed him. Yet one question won't die. Why has he avoided that one massive goodbye for all these years? What truth could be hiding behind that silence? So, what do you think? Is it an angel, a monster, trapped by fear, and what do you believe Macaulay still carries after all this time? In the comments below, tell me which reason sent chills down your spine. To like, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next deep dive into the world to bury. The truth is never as it seems, and the shadows of Neverland are far from